Hey NAI football fans, Corey Thorpe here with another edition of the NAIF Ball Podcast, powered by AdCraft USA, your custom apparel, merch, and uniform experts. Our friends at AdCraft have been with us for many years now. They've run web stores for us multiple times. These guys are NAI fans and family who are experts in the apparel and merchandise world. AdCraft allows you to take the hassle out of ordering. Let their knowledgeable design and customer service staff handle everything from hosting the store online, shipping the product, and helping your customers so you can get back to the game. Find them online at adcraftusa.com. All right, NAI football fans, it's time for another edition of the NAIF Ball Podcast, powered by AdCraft Custom Apparel and Merch, the best in the business since 1974. And we are, well, how do you go? We're not in Kansas anymore, because we are in the KCAC, at
Well,
least for the
that would
next 2
just
weeks.
that would just mean we're in Kansas because it's a double negative.
We're in Kansas anymore.
There you go.
Hooray! So we'll click our heels and go off to Lindsborg first, home of the Bethany Swedes. And you know what? Most people look at 3-8 and 0-5 and go, "What a sorry year." And I go, "Look at you, Bethany. That wasn't an abject disaster, and you're growing, and I believe in you."
Yeah, it's definitely you're not gonna get the entire picture of this program. They are definitely in a much more competitive spot than where they were like not too long ago. It's good to see them getting wins. Now we just got to get some conference wins back on the board. I think they're in a good position to do it. You bring back a lot of guys on a defense that improved, and I believe an offense that also improved in the metrics.
Yeah, so up 6 on offense, up 14 on defense. So definitely a team that got better. I mean, you think if they're on the other side of the conference, if they're on the Bissell side, because, oh yeah, we should probably say the KCAC redid their divisions as they are wont to do every so often. And so Bethany is one of the teams that is switching sides from the Kessinger to the Bissell. If they were in the Bissell as comprised last year, they would have been 3-3 in conference. I mean, that's not terrible. I've seen much worse.
Yeah, no, they're in a good spot. You'll have some holes to fill, obviously, especially on the special team side of things. Two first team all conference guys at their respective kick and punt return positions. Not ideal for you, but you still bring back most of your guys on both sides of the ball. It's definitely in your favor.
This is one of the few teams that actually brings back their starting quarterback. I think there's like 2 squads that we have confirmed are bringing back their starting quarterback. A couple of the other ones where we have it written down, we're pretty sure they're not there. We just didn't hear from the teams. This one we know Landry Shields is back. Um, honestly, I'm I'm looking for good things out of Bethany. I definitely I'm definitely watching on this one. It's like not bad suspicious, but I'm suspicious of them. I'm watching them. I'm curious to see what they do. And honestly, the same goes for the next squad, the Ottawa Braves. Um, 74th in SP plus, 75th in Massey. That's not what you expect out of a one-win squad, especially one with a 46th ranked defense. Um, I'm going to go ahead and make myself a meme. This might have been the best one-win team in the nation.
I'm sure the Nebraska fans of the world loved hearing you say that. But also, it's really interesting because this team is also a year removed from a playoff berth,
Right?
lest we forget. And that defense was really, really good last year. You just couldn't quite get the gears turning on the offensive side of the ball. Another team, like you mentioned, like Bethany, where you still bring back all of your guys. The difference is here is that for Ottawa, you don't have starting quarterback coming back, which is something to note.
I will note, I have never seen this many all-conference selections for a one-win squad.
Yeah,
I mean,
seriously.
that's ridiculous. And that bodes well for you, I think, because it's about 60-40. They're coming back, and you're bringing back a majority on both sides of the ball. And, I mean, finding a new quarterback when the one you had led you to the 87th best offense in the nation, there are worse things. And next up, you talk about teams that have been in the playoffs recently and then are down on the bottom side of the KCAC. That's Avila, and they've been on the struggle bus recently, but good to see them get over 500 in the division. And look, this is a third season for head coach Derek Alexander of Michigan fame and NFL fame a little bit. This is a team that, if you put it all together, they could make some noise.
Yeah, it's definitely showing that the Bissell is kind of a weird, jumbled mess going into this next season
I think that's the
because
point, though, right? With the
yeah, totally.
KCAC redoing it, they're trying to make it to where there's not one division where there's all the cellar dwellers, and then one division where there's all the top teams. They're trying to make each have both, and honestly, I'm for it. I think it's a great idea.
Absolutely. I think as we go through this, you'll realize that they did a very good job at doing that this year. Because truthfully, like a lot of these teams are going to be competitors. There are going to be a lot of middle of the pack teams and a lot of teams that, take wins from each other. I think Avila, though, is one to note because you bring back Eli Williams. That is huge for what you do. That's a first team all conference guy that you bring back leading your offense. Hopefully see some improvements statistically there, but you have the pieces and athletes in place.
We're not sure on that one if Williams is going to be returning. We could not confirm from Avila he might not actually be there. So we can only tell you what we get confirmed. So, and can't hold a gunpoint to people's heads. But I mean, even so, you're bringing back all your running backs, theoretically, and so you've got a most majority on paper at least. Most offense, a majority on defense. You could see Avila make some noise, but again, we are hearing rumblings that Eli Williams is no longer on that team. Can't confirm that at this juncture.
If he's still on that squad, though,
Yeah,
I mean, watch out. If that falls through or if the rumblings are wrong, which they usually aren't, but would be interesting to see how Avila shakes up the rest of the Bissell.
and we will be back with more afterword from our friends from AdCraft.
So you want to create and sell custom merch for your team or business. That's exciting, but where do you begin? How much inventory should you order? How do you distribute orders? AdCraft has your answers. Streamline the way you offer custom merch by utilizing our risk-free web store service. We ship directly to each customer, and we have the fastest turnaround in the game. Raise funds for your team or get merch to your employees and patrons. Contact AdCraft today and let's bring your merch to life.
And they are so good at that. We are thankful for them and for them partnering with us. And try one of their web stores, risk-free. They do all the work for you. Make sure that you get good quality product to your team. Now, Matt, I don't know the last time I've seen the following team on the top half of the division. And I think that speaks to the year they had. We talked about it a little bit into the year last year. But that's Tabor. Tabor had a surprisingly good year over 500, 4-1 in the Bissell. This is a team that, they can put it together. You never know, but they haven't made a whole lot of noise the last few years until last year.
Yeah, and they did a good job behind a really, really good defensive unit. I feel like a lot of the teams in the Bissell specifically had defenses that stood out, and the Blue Jays were no exception to that. You do lose a good portion of your front seven, which will definitely be an issue for you going forward. But offensively, you have a good chunk of your pieces coming back, which is something to note.
Yeah, we'll see. We're hearing rumblings that Willie Green is not with the program any longer. So as far as the quarterback play goes, we don't know what we're going to find. But if he is back, that means that they bring back a high majority of their offense. About 70 to 80% of their offense is coming back, and about half of their defense, which puts them in a really good spot to kind of leverage that good last season and build on top of it. Mike Gardner, I'm pretty sure, and I'm going to look here real quick. Yeah, he is the longest tenured head coach in this division. He's going to be entering his 16th season this upcoming year. It's like the farmer's commercial. He knows a thing or two because he's seen a thing or two. 16 years at the same school is pretty good. You got an idea for how it's going to go. We'll see how Tabor goes. And then we have Father Abraham here with the Bethel Threshers. I got to admit, it's a little hard to see, or a little weird to see, a 1-4 in conference team here at 59. And tell you the truth, we'll have to. I'm not sure what Bethel's going to be. You've got a new head coach, defensive coordinator from Calvin University, a D3 college, in Josh Lawson that's come over the last couple of years for Bethel. Since A.B. Stokes left, have been interim heavy. And now you've got your guy in Josh Lawson. I don't know what Bethel's going to be. It's really an unknown quantity here. We do know they were pretty in the middle, which for having that much inconsistency and that much coaching turmoil isn't bad.
No, not at all. You're definitely gonna have to fill some gaps for your team. I mean, first year head coach coming in with the turnover they've had, like it makes sense that they're having some of these issues right now. But Lawson being a first year guy, being able to put the pieces together with what you have, especially if you bring back Josiah Butler on your offense, really solid receiver for you. You kind of have a returner at every level, which is nice. There's a familiar face there. But there also is a good chunk of guys, like I mentioned, that aren't going to be there to kind of build this up.
Yeah, the big one here that I want to point out is Noah Miller and Tate Seabolt, who are those have been some names. Tate's been a multi-time KCAC All-Conference player, and that leads to the fact that you bring back a minority of your defense. Your most tackled returning linebacker is Lyric Wheeler with 6 tackles, which is below our threshold. It's not ideal to not have any linebackers that have played significant portions of time. And you return a minority of your offense. Now, you can spin that positively. It's a way for Coach Lawson to put his stamp on the team early. If you're bringing back a minority on both sides of the football, you kind of have to. You got to do something. You can't just roll out there with nothing. And if you're going to roll out there with something, you might as well roll out there with what the head coach really wants to do.
Mm-hmm. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out for them. It'll be curious to see what a new version of this program looks like.
Yeah, and I don't know, but it feels like you've got an opportunity, if you want to get away from that triple option feel that the program had been built on. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know. We'll have to see. They had run some spread option looks under A.B. Stokes um, that worked at times, but honestly, I think it's good you now have a guy there and not a dude with an interim tag to make sure that everything kind of rolls smoothly and is built back from the ground up. It's going to be a hard year for Bethel, I'm afraid, but at the same time, it's going to be a fun year watching your team get built from ground level. And then there was one, the Evangel Valor Chuck Hepela entering his 10th season, 8-2, 3-2, 21st ranked team in SP Plus, 28th in Massey. This was a good team last year with a good defense. Just needed to get the offense put together. And could be really interesting now that they're kind of the class of the Bissell.
For sure. And you mentioned that they have to get some things going on their offense. That's not even to say that their offense was all that bad last year. It's just the defense of this unit being a top 12 metrics unit. It definitely stood out on the field too in all of their games last year. I felt like from what I saw, very, very good defensive team. But you bring back a lot of your guys on the offense that already were productive. You bring back Reed Potts, who's your main guy there, kind of leading the charge, and I think that's really good for you.
That is really good for you because he's a guy that we didn't think would be coming back. Have that SR next to his name for senior. You've got almost all of your offense coming back, and I mean the guys that you have that were all conference guys. Eric Williams was a 1,000-yard rusher. Brock Lau was almost a 500-yard receiver. You've got an athlete in Kyle Cummings. It's you've got a lot of pieces there to make it happen. You just gotta. There are a lot of places on this defense, however, where it's going to be tough. I mean, Bradley Myers, Nate Swafford were so good, and you've got two defensive linemen there between Zach Myers and Kyer Warner, who anchored that defensive line. I mean, honestly, when you're the 12th best defense in the nation, yeah, you're going to have some really good seniors. But that being said, you return a majority of your defense, and that's a really good sign that Evangel is moved into kind of that rolling phase instead of kind of being choppy that up and down while you get some seniors. Now you've got it rolling.
Yeah, this feels like the one team in this division that is kind of cut above the rest. When you look at it on paper in the season they had last year and the momentum they have going into this next season, like I have no reason to believe this team won't be as good as they were last year.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and it's given. I'm not going to say that they've been given the division on a silver platter because they haven't. Because you look at the way they've cut the divisions, and they did it fairly. Bethel up into the last couple of years was a perennial playoff team. You should have had a fairly good 1-2 punch with that. It happens, especially when you're using historical seasons to make to make conference decisions. I don't count this against the conference that Evangel is kind of right now the standout team. That's just the way it be sometimes. So I don't think it's going to be much of a surprise who we're picking to win it. Matt, go ahead.
Yeah, Evangel. I kind of already said my piece there, but like I mentioned, just to sum it up, I don't see why this team can't be as good or even better, honestly, with the pieces you have coming back on offense. That machine can get rolling a bit, creep into the top 20, top 15 of metrics there. You'll be in a really good spot.
And who you got for your dark horse?
I have Avila. Eli Williams with or without. Either way, I think I'd still stick with this squad. There are a lot of teams that are kind of in this middle to upper part of the pack, but Avila's the one team that feels like they have been there before recently. I know Ottawa also was in that boat. Um, but they were a 6-5 team in the playoff that year, so I think that should be noted. Um, but regardless, this is a team that had a down year for their standards, but you bring back so many good pieces that I don't see why in year three, Derek Alexander in year three, that's when you start to see the rise. Year two, you're kind of working on things. Year three is when you're starting to peak. So we'll see how it goes, but I'm pretty bullish on them.
Yeah, I've got Evangel too. I don't think there's any question right now about um, them being able to win the division. But I am going with the Braves for my dark horse. That's a lot of all conference guys to bring back, and a lot of guys that are going to be coming back that know how to make that playoff run. Because remember, even though they were 6-5 a couple years ago, making the playoffs, it's that was a playoff run where you had to knock off some big names like Kansas Wesleyan in order to do it. So it's guys that know how to win in big time games. If they can just get the offense in gear, I think you're going to be fine. And so I am looking at them to make a big jump this year.
I mean, you could honestly make an argument for any of the first three teams we
know,
mentioned,
right?
like Bethany included.
Yeah,
Like it was a really
100%.
hard dark horse to pick. Realistically, all these teams could go 500 or better next year. Like
Yeah,
it's just going to be that competitive, I think.
yeah. It's gonna be dog eat dog there. I mean, it's gonna be Frontier Junior almost.
Yeah.
So where do they stack up there? Bissell goes fifth in average SP plus, slotting in above the AAC, but they do come in second in the standard deviation. So they are tightly packed there, which honestly is a credit to the league office in making that tight. That was intentional that way. So that slots them in at second right now, and it's a tight race between the KCAC Bissell at 4.6 and 3 spots down from them, or 4 spots down from them, the Hart North at 4.8. That's tight, and you know what? That tracks with what we see on the field, or what we saw on the field last year, that overall those 4 divisions are absolutely within shouting distance of each other top to bottom.
I feel like we talk about every year at some point how the NAIA as a whole feels like it's getting more competitive.
Mm-hmm.
And I think these numbers would prove that. And I feel like every preseason we do, like they prove that.
Man, the Frontier, though, standing 2 points off. We'll see. The Mid-South is coming. I got a good feeling about them shaking it up. So that is it for this week's NAIF Ball podcast. We're looking forward to doing the other half of the division. That's another fun side, honestly. And the guys who allow us to have this sort of fun are our patrons. Join us at patreon.com/NAIFball to help support what we do here. We appreciate all of our patrons. They include DSU Combe, Bob Boone, Roger Meyer, Jeremy Vobble, Fred Christensen, Ace Swellen, Marty Seabolt, Nick Ryan, Kyle Gregory, Tyler Pierce, Justin Hoffman, Steve Speakman, Brian Shake, Julianne Shager, Nate Soapbeer, Stephen Cutler, Julie Lout, Nathan Moore, Ryan, Jason Crawford, Charles A. Flowers, Todd, Nick, Sean Chamberlain, Zach, Lance, Casey Willison, Carol C. Suggs, Chris, Derek Lowers, Jason Garnon, USF Sucks, Ian Brookshire, Joey Breckel, Coca Nicholas, Tim Burrow, and Midwest Sports. net. Honestly, when we started, the KCAC was an absolute joke conference. It was Kansas Wesleyan and Sisters of the Poor. Y'all are probably tired of hearing me say it, but I don't think there's any conference that's had as much of a glow up, top to bottom, as the KCAC has. So, and I think we're going to see that more next week as we come up and see some of these top teams from the other side. That it's going to be super competitive, and it's going to be fun to watch. But until then, thank you for joining us, and we will see y'all on the Twitter feed.